Hi, my name's Jamie Finnegan. I work for Transport for Greater Manchester, which looks after and runs the public transport services within Greater Manchester, the 10 districts of Greater Manchester. I've been at that organisation about 10 years. I've been a member of CIMA for sort of upwards around 15 years. And my current role is a finance project manager, and I look after the transaction team for our accounts receivable, accounts payable side of things. Well, I think the professional challenges are very similar to what everyone's experiencing across the country in terms of the speed of the close down. So our financial year finishes on March 31st, and we had the budget set for the new financial year beginning April 1st. The speed of the shutdown forced us really, first of all, to look at what emergency measures do we need to put in place. And that was a big challenge because we had a building of sort of 700-800 people. Not everyone could work from home. A lot of the processes that we had from a finance, from a sign-off point of view, from a governance perspective, hadn't really been worked through to have everyone working at home. It always relied with people in the office. So there's a sort of an emergency transition of about a week, 2 weeks. How do we pay people? How do we pay suppliers? How do we pay the staff? How are we going to get people to authorize these things when normally a lot of that was quite paper-based? There's the IT setup, people getting used to working from laptops in different areas of their house, in terms of trying to get all of that grouped together. Our IT department did a fantastic job. People have started to adapt. We're trying to sort of keep within the governance and within audit requirements in terms of authorization and emails going around. So that's now stabilized, and we're getting that to sort of business as usual. We then had a second phase really of, if the budgets that we planned and had been approved for the 1st of April, we needed to do a reprioritization exercise in terms of, similar to other organizations, preserving our cash flow, looking where the big spikes in cash were. As an organization, we had a massive hit on our revenues because obviously we rely on our public transport in terms of trams. That, I think it's been well flagged, it's sort of 95% down to where we were in the previous month, based on the fact that the country's in lockdown. So we had to sort of do a very quick reprioritization exercise to understand, well, what are the key things that we need. As an organization, we wanted to make sure that we could get essential workers to hospitals, to teachers, to schools, people to care homes. So we had to keep the transport system functioning, but at a very different patronage level. So we had to work through that as one of the priorities. We had to recut what the key expenditure items are going to be over the next few months. So in effect, we had to redo a 3-month budget process very, very quickly to understand where we could identify our priorities and our needs. We then got a sort of a final phase, which is, well, what's it going to look like when we come out of this? Now, for public transport, we will be waiting for the sort of government in terms of the social distancing. Is it 1 meter? Is it 2 meters? What's the expectation of people wearing face masks? All of these things we need to sort of build into what our recovery looks like. And it will be quite different in some respects in terms of the number of people. I'm presuming there'll be some sort of phased return to work across the country. And we need to sort of work that through in a business plan and work through a number of different scenarios that focus on, what does it really look like in terms of contract costs to run these services, and patronage in terms of the people returning to work. So I think the key management challenge I touched upon in terms of the professional side of things was understanding how we can get processes which were paper-based, where we normally had people signing certain documents, how we could get that moved electronically. So that was one of the key processes. A number of people who hadn't worked from home before, getting them set up and running and work from home, managing the team of sort of 6 or 7 people who had been always based in the office to suddenly all in individual locations. So first of all, it was sort of quite a novel experience for some of them, I suppose, being able to work from home. And it sort of moved now into, I think people want the opportunity to be able to work from the office, which sounds an odd thing to say, but a lot of the team, the social interaction part is very important at work. And obviously when you're at your computer all day, you don't have that opportunity to talk to someone, to make a cup of tea, get involved in a sort of a brew round. So it's very difficult to just focus on work the whole time from a management perspective. So we started with doing daily calls, making sure we have FaceTime in terms of people actually being able to see other people, getting their feedback, how they're feeling on certain days, understanding when, you know, there's complications they might have. They might be homeschooling kids, so when might not be a good time to try and set up a meeting, and have a bit more of an understanding around your team's personal issues, really, from their home life in terms of working from home. So I think we've sort of learned a lot about that, a lot about different people's setups. You try and often, you know, it's not always about a work call. It should also be about a social call, talking about the, you know, the Tiger King, whatever people might watch on Netflix. You've sort of got to keep a bit of social interaction that you might happen at work. So you're trying to do that and really, you know, keep the people sort of motivated and make sure that everyone's well-being. It's been very important at Transport for Greater Manchester. We've had a real focus on that in terms of making sure people keep in touch. There's help lines, all sorts of things like that. So I would say those are the biggest management challenges. From a personal perspective, the challenges that I've faced is there's two things really. One, the laptop is always there now, so it always seems to be open. After dinner, you might walk past and someone might have sent you an email, so you might have a look at that. And it's a question of drawing a line about turning off from work sometimes to sort of focus on other things. So you know, like I say, the laptop is always open. So on a Saturday or a Sunday, you often find yourself drifting in to do things, and once you start answering email and looking into things, you know, suddenly an hour of your day's gone. So it's quite difficult that way. What you try to do is have that discipline around it. So certainly on a Friday at about 5:36, and make sure that, you know, you turn it off and you go and have a drink with the wife, or you set something up with friends for a social call that makes you sort of get off and realize, right, well, this is really the start of the weekend. You know, any work that you are doing now, you need to sort of be very mindful of the effect that it has on you personally and your health and well-being, and the effect on your family. The other big challenges I think a number of people might have is with regards to homeschooling children. It's, you know, it's very, very difficult. I've got a 15-year-old son who's more than happy to drift off if you're not saying what you're doing, you know, and questioning him on things. But, you know, that's not his fault. We've just sort of got to accept that, you know, fundamentally they've missed out on you know, a decent chunk in the summer term of what they would have learned. And you've got to stop beating yourself up to think, I can do a job, I can homeschool, I can do all sorts of things that would normally be happening in your life. And you've got to have a bit of perspective, really. And I think personally, I've taken, you know, the foot back and said, right, well, you know, if the kids are doing certain bits of work at school, we can help them, we can check them, but, you know, it's not a full day at school. Don't expect anything different, really. You know, do what you can and do as best as you can. And, you know, we'll all come out of this and move on. So the key bit of advice I would find, or would suggest, there's a number of things really. The first one is from a work perspective, is you really need to take this, and there will be opportunities from this in terms of your business model. So, you know, we touched upon what does it look like, what does the recovery look like when we come out of this? Now that could be to do with, actually, we don't need as much space in a building. We've shown that, you know, 700-800 people can work from home. If we were to expand anymore, would we really need a new building, or would you look at, you know, having a sort of person to desk ratio of you know, something like 5 to 10, 7 to 10? So there are opportunities to do this when we come out of the recovery phase, and we definitely will come out of the recovery phase. People will want to start, will have to start to go back to work. So it's looking at your business model in the recovery phase and what opportunities are there that you probably wouldn't have realized before this happened. So that would be one sort of professional one, and from a personal one, it's no different really to your normal life. Try and have that social interaction. Phone people. I tend to phone people at work, sometimes just for a chat. So you might have 10 minutes just before lunch, and you do that and you call them, and it gives you the opportunity to sort of have a bit of normality and feel that you're not just working, or you're not just in your house the whole time, but you still have that relationship with colleagues, which can be informal, it can be fun, you can have a joke and a bit of a laugh, and then carry on.